everybody.
Hello.
My name is Shannon.
I'm Alyssa.
Welcome back to another episode of
B-Movie Bash.
I love the awkward silence.
It's always we've been doing this for how many episodes
we don't have a
now?
transition into what we're doing. We're just like, this week, we have another movie.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we do have a movie this week. Yeah, we do. First of all, little bit of backstory about this movie.
Yeah.
So, I watched all 85 minutes of it.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I get to the last 82 and I realize this plot is not over yet. And I was like, okay, so it's the first of a movie. There's a sequel to it, right? Mm-hmm. So I Google it. This is the sequel.
Yeah.
And there's supposed to be a third one. And I don't know if it's ever going to come out because of COVID. So, yeah, because this came out in 2018. The first movie came out in 2017. And there is no indication anywhere on this DVD case. I went and checked everything. There's nothing that indicates that this is a sequel.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
That's cool.
Yeah, so, but, I mean, they give you, like, a little synopsis at the beginning of the movie, which I'll talk about, which basically tells you what happened in the first movie. So, like, there's that.
If you're just watching it, it just feels like a setup for this movie,
I was
right?
like, okay, this is kind of I was like, all right, okay, this is interesting. But they had, like, recorded scenes that they were flashing through and stuff, and I thought maybe they just didn't want to deal with filming that whole part and making a whole thing because they needed to get through the rest of the movie, right? Yeah. No. It was very wrong. So, I might do the prequel sometime because there could be more bad movie to this, but yeah. So if you look at my DVD case right here, it says Dragon Kingdom.
It does, and it's a dollar store movie.
It is a dollar store movie, yes. So it's, but if you IMDb this, it is called The Dark Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah, same font, same pictures, same everything. Makes a lot of sense as to why it would be called The Dark Kingdom, as opposed to Dragon Kingdom.
Are there none dragons?
The back of the DVD case says, from the executive producers of Game of Thrones. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right? Or producer, I should say. Producer of Game of Thrones. Geek Legion of Doom says, more dragons than the Hobbit films combined. So
more
two?
than one?
Yeah, like there's two.
We've got more dragons than Sleeping Beauty.
Right?
Whoa. What kind of brag is that?
I don't know. So there are more dragons than that.
We don't have one dragon. We have two dragons.
Yeah, so we'll get there.
Okay.
But okay. So this movie was rated a 3.3.
Oh my god. Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's the lowest we've had in a while.
In a while. I know most everything's been in the 5s.
5, 6. Yeah.
But this one, honestly though, I still kind of had a goodish time watching it. Okay. Being like, okay, when do we get to where we're going to, Yeah. But
we never get there. Because there's a next one? Okay.
So I don't know if there's a next one. I need to research more. My problem, though, is that I didn't look into the movie because I don't like to be spoiled for things. Yep. So I didn't even think this could be a sequel of a movie because everything about the synopsis on the back of this, is to save their kingdom from the Dark Lord's army, a group of warriors must travel through the Forbidden Lands, fighting the fearsome monsters of the Dark Kingdom to rescue their king. Okay. That sounds like a standalone movie. Yeah. It is not. This is
like
a
sequel. D&D kind of movie.
Yeah, it's actually, it really feels like people are having a D&D fest. It's
nice.
Anyway, but I was straight up just like, okay, I felt like I was missing things, but I thought it's probably just bad writing. Yeah. That's what I thought for the whole movie. I was like, it's just a bad movie. But no, I'm missing things. So now I need to go watch the first one. So if you guys want to see the first, or hear the first one, let us know below, because I need to know it for my sanity. Anyway, so here's
interesting to find out what questions it answers,
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll find out one day.
Because, they have a few moments where they say things that I was just like, okay. But I thought, some of the characters have been friends for years. It very clearly establishes that the two are knights and they've been together. The other two are Katori warrior women that very clearly are from a sisterhood of Amazonian warriors kind of a thing, Cool. So, they know each other for a very long time, and they'll say little things that you're just like, okay.
Inside joke?
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
How are you supposed to know?
How would I know? But, not for a second did this say that it was the sequel while I was watching the movie either. It literally just starts off with this monologue and showing clips from the first movie, but I was like, that literally could have just
It's a
been
setup.
the setup.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
But it was a recap. So we start off with the backstory. An army of the undead, which they call Fury Bloods.
Ooh.
So I was like, I kind of like that because they just call them the Furies and stuff, like running around and everything. Because they're very angry kind of guys and stuff.
So we got zombies?
Yes, they're basically zombies, but like they're barely in the movie, honestly. So, but yeah, an army of the undead destroys the main countries, or the main castle and everything. It doesn't say like any shit about a dragon destroying the castle. But apparently a dragon destroys the castle. I don't know. And the Princess Elizabeth believes that her brother, Prince Fabian, is the one who raised this undead army and stuff, right? And she steals a dragon egg from him and takes off with it, okay? And I was like, okay, this is like choppy backstory, but again, I thought this is just bad writing, you know? Just setting up for the rest of the movie and stuff. And I was like, okay. Anyway, she steals dragon eggs from him and runs away with some of her most loyal Kingsguard and stuff, right? And they meet up with 2 warrior women, the Katori women, who agree to help them defeat her brother, right? Okay. Apparently in the first movie, they end up saving the 2 Katori warriors, and they're like, okay, we'll help you with your journey, kind of a thing. So that's what happens. Honestly, I probably should have watched the first movie so I could just tell you everything right now, but like...
Without taking notes, just like fill in the gaps?
Yeah, just like...
Oh well,
know, man. Anyway, that's fine.
Here we are.
I'd have to go find it online because I don't even know. Yeah. So, anyway, so we open up to the group wandering through a village that seems totally empty besides farm animals. Right? Okay. Suddenly they are attacked. There's a lot of suddenlies there, you know, by the Furies who. They take way too long fighting these things, okay? And apparently the only freaking person who has a sword is George. So there's George, Richard, Dima, and Freya, okay? And then Princess Elizabeth, right? George is like over there slashing with swords, and Richard is just punching away. Just punching and stuff, right? And the 2 Katori women are just like kicking ass. They're just being badass women, right? Yeah. Which I love them the whole movie. I was just like, they're great. They don't talk a lot, but they were just like, yes, so we're badasses and we know it, and they just do badass things. And they're literally just here like, where's the fight? Now we fight. And then we just hang out. Like it was a good time. Yeah. Anyway, so they're attacked by the undead and everything, and these actors have the worst zombie makeup of all time. Like, and most of this movie...
Worse than Silent Night, Zombie Night?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. I can't wait to show you pictures. There's this, but they're all, like, kind of coming at them, and some of them have weapons and stuff, so, like, because they're being controlled. They're not just Walking Dead zombies. They are...
Like magic
They're magic.
Zombies?
Yeah, they're controlled zombies and stuff, right? And as far as I'm aware, they're dead. There's a few of them that they show later on in the movie that the evil Magister, he's the bad guy, like can take over people and turn them into Furies and control them right then. So they're fighting and stuff, but the ones, they all come running out to him, just being like, zombies and stuff, which is pretty normal zombie stuff, but they've got this one guy that is like with his tongue out, like just
like Thriller arms.
So they're just kind of in front of him, not like all the way out, but they're just like kind of in front. Like my boobs are in the way, but like, but he's just like it was just. I laughed so hard at him and stuff, and the other zombies are fighting, and they're just like they're the Furies and stuff, taking care of them and stuff, right? So George just keeps slashing, they just keep stabbing and hacking and shooting with arrows, and they just keep yanking the arrows out and stuff and coming back to attack him, and they're not going down, obviously because they've never fought zombies before, so they don't know.
I was going to say, is there a way to kill these ones, or because they're magic, are they just like corpses?
George cuts off one of their heads, and it drops, and it doesn't get back up.
And they're like, ho ho!
And he yells, take their heads, right? Richard grabs one of the zombies by the hair, shoves it down to the ground, and goes, then let's cut off their heads and be done with this.
That's what I said.
Yes, Richard, that is what that means.
Thank you.
Thank you. But he proceeds to cut the zombie's throat, and it dies.
It's the brainstem.
Yeah,
it's the brainstem.
I don't know. So another zombie runs at him, and he stabs it in the throat, and it dies.
Okay.
So there's that. And then they manage to kill the other ones. I don't fucking know.
Do they not know zombies?
I don't know. I'm just saying, if you set a precedent that their heads have to be cut off,
you
need to cut off their heads.
Yeah, or like, at least just show you, like, stabbing it in the brain.
Something like that, yeah. Like
not just cutting its throat. Okay.
And I was like, okay, yeah, that's what he said. Anyway. They die. Yeah, and then that's when they start calling them Furies and stuff, and the Fury Bloods and stuff. And so they search the village for weapons and dispose of the bodies. The princess and Demia are tending to everybody's wounds and stuff, while Freya's kind of keeping an eye out on things, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole time this is all going on, there's so much sexual tension between George and Princess Elizabeth that I'm sure would have been a lot more in the first movie, but I'm sitting here being like,
What's happening?
Princess in a night guard. Like, I was like, hey, just little things. Like, as she's dabbing at his arm for a scratch and, like, stitching it up and stuff. And he was like, you're actually really good at this, you know? Like, and she was like, oh, yeah, my years of practicing stitching and stuff in the castle and stuff. And he was like, well, I also think we need to get you a different outfit because she's in this big green gown with a big old, like, flowy cape behind her and stuff. It's very royally and stuff, you know?
Not good for, like, travel and
yeah, and he was like, yeah, so I think we need to have you change outfits and stuff. And she's like, yes, these clothes seem even less appropriate than ever before. And I was like, okay, so she's kind of a humble princess. All right. Okay, Elizabeth, I got you. But she agrees, and then out of nowhere, the whole time she's walking into the village, she's got her hands at her sides, okay? She's not carrying anything. Okay. And I don't know, because none of them had bags, really. Like, they had little satchels, but not big enough for this fucking, like, almost basketball-sized egg, okay? Yes. Of a dragon egg, right? And she's like, I wonder where my brother even got one of these eggs. And Freya goes, there's power in dragon eggs. Okay. And Richard is like, oh, it's bad luck of any sort to be near magic, blah, 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 right? Okay. And the princess believes that her brother is trying to raise a dragon army. Okay. Yes. George says that it would make him the most powerful prince by far, right? Too powerful kind of a thing. And that no one has ever enslaved a dragon before. Okay. And Richard replies that no one has ever found a dragon egg before. And the princess is like, what? No one's ever found a dragon egg? Like, dragons exist, but they've just never found the dragon egg. And George starts to, like, my favorite, though, is why is Elizabeth asking these questions? It should be Richard asking these questions, because he seems like he's more of the dumb one. So Elizabeth, who should know the history of her kingdom, is like, what do you mean? How have they never found a dragon egg before? And George is like, well, Richard and George are explaining that dragons come from this mountain far off away, but it's got, like, ridiculously crazy rivers that are nearby. Like, you can't take a boat up them and it's too hard to cross, and that there's lava constantly flowing out of this mountain because that's where dragons are and stuff. And so it's almost impossible to cross the lava and climb the mountain plus deal with the dragons. Like, it's just way too much. Like, it's impossible to do so and live, right? Yeah. And so she was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes a lot of sense. So nobody's off stealing dragon eggs, you know? Cool. And the princess is confused as to how Fabian is controlling the Fury and stuff, and Richard thinks that someone else is helping him do so, which we find out because of the first movie, there's some bad guy called the Magister, right? And the Magister is actually the one controlling all the zombies, and he's the one who's basically convinced Fabian to, like, oh, you can do this and you'll become king, kind of a thing.
Do all the bad things.
Yeah. So George also is holding a tooth from a dragon that attacked the castle, and the princess is like, what's that? And he goes, oh, it's from the dragon that attacked the castle. And they don't talk about it again. Okay. So it's important later, but it means nothing right now. They literally...
He's just holding it?
He's just holding it.
I have tooth.
Yeah, he's like, playing with it and stuff. It's just whatever. Anyway, he goes, I'll take first watch and they should all get some rest. Richard is like, oh, I'll stay up with you. And he's like, no, my friend, I need you to get some rest so that I can then get some rest. Yeah. Like, I need everybody rested, kind of a thing. And so he's like, I'm going to take first watch. Well, he falls asleep. And so he falls asleep, but Elizabeth had gone off and found a change of clothes that she's switching into and stuff. But he wakes up to her changing and sees her, like, bare back, right? And she kind of turns and looks at him, and they just kind of gaze at each other for a second. And then she, like, slowly takes her hair out. And so he slowly stands up and starts to walk towards her. And then Richard starts snoring in his sleep and, like, sleep talking. And so they both kind of are like,
Nothing.
Right? Nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here like, cute. That's cute. Like, it's a little awkward because, like, they were just a little bit awkward, but, like, it's so cute. They're flirting and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't fully know how solidified their relationship is, but it's from something that George says later. It kind of seems like they have already slept together in the first movie, so I'm not entirely sure, but I need to watch the first movie. But, like, anyway. So George is like, right, yes, I'm gonna go outside, do a little little catwalk turns, you know, like make sure nothing's out there.
Right.
While he's out there, suddenly gets attacked by a fury. No big deal. He kills it.
Okay.
Just out of nowhere. Just fury attack.
Just one?
Just one.
Okay.
Just jumps him and he kills it. Like,
sure.
Yep. Next morning, they all head out. The pacing of this movie is so weird. So they all head out when they encounter a group of survivors. And all of these people are, like, talking like this with their head kind of hanging down and, like, looking up at them with their eye. And I just, while I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is hurting my neck, man. Like, stop what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And they tell them that they were from a village that everything was destroyed. The two main people that are talking are like, our daughter was killed by the fury. Oh, you have to help us. You're the king's knights and stuff. Yeah, and basically they were just like begging for help for way too long. It was a good like 3 minutes of conversation of like, this is what's happening and you have to help us. You're the king's knights. And then them being like, we can't really tell them what we're doing, but like, no, we can't help you. And they were like, you have to take us to the castle. The castle will keep us safe. And they were like, well, there is no castle. A dragon destroyed the castle. And they're like, there's no dragons in a world where there are dragons. Like, but they were like, nothing could destroy the castle. What could even possibly be strong enough to destroy the castle? Well, cue the dragon that swoops down. Oh. And so there's a dragon just there. And this thing is so bad. Like, it's so bad. It's terrible.
It CG?
It's CG.
Okay.
It's terrible. It's so bad. And I saw on one of these, I think it was on the Dark Kingdom, not the Dragon Kingdom poster, but like the Dark Kingdom poster, it said that someone who worked on the Harry Potter films is the one that did the CGI for this movie. And I was like, was it the first movie? Like, is that...
Was it with a quarter of the budget?
Yeah, like, I was very... if anything, they spent most of their money on one of these dudes' makeups, and I'll tell you who that is in a little bit. That or building whatever fucking huts they had, like, because those were expensive-looking huts. Like, yeah. It's so bad, though. And they're all like, oh, no, the dragon, what do we do? And George is like, maybe it wants the dragon egg back. And so they give it back the dragon egg. And the dragon picks up the egg and flies away.
Okay.
Yep.
End of movie.
So there's that. And I'm sitting here just like, okay, then what was the purpose of you stealing the fucking egg then?
Yeah.
Because if we want to talk logistics here, okay, dragons may be reptilian and stuff. Yeah. But they still have to be kept warm. Mm-hmm. And if you're taking a dragon egg and just being like, well, in my pocket you go for the next 48 hours, that's a dead dragon egg. Like, that ain't no live dragon no more. That is a dead dragon. Yeah. Like, for sure. You can't do that with basically anything other than probably alligators. No, because they get buried underground so that it stays warm for that. So, like, you still gotta incubate them. Yeah. And shit, right? They're not incubating anything. They're just like, what's this thing? Toss? Like, it just... I mean, they didn't actually toss it. But, like, that's the care they took. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Anyway, but yeah, the dragon takes the egg and flies away. Okay. And the survivors decide to travel with the main group for a bit, right? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they're in the first movie, but I don't entirely know. Anyway, so they travel with them, and they're headed to the North Castle, which is where Elizabeth's father, the king, is. Okay. So he's not in the main castle. He was at the North Castle because I guess the queen has not been feeling well, and so she's been recovering in the North Castle. So just trying to get better and stuff, right? Okay. So they decide, we need to go to the North Castle for shelter. And I'm like, if your dragon buddies took down the main castle, easy peasy. Yeah. This will be no problem. This will be even easier because it's a smaller castle, apparently. So, like, I don't fucking know. Anyway, Freya is scouting ahead, though. And she comes back and she's like, you two come with me. And so George and Richard run forward with her to see what's going on. And there is an absolute army. Thousands of furies just standing in a field going, but they look like they're ready to like charge at any time. Yeah. And so they're all lined up. They're ready. They're like, yeah, let's go. And they're not doing shit. They're not doing anything. Okay?
Yeah, I feel like if it was a whole horde of just mindless zombies. Yeah. Well, I guess they're magicked, so maybe they're not.
But like you'd think they would at least be going somewhere, like searching for the princess that they're supposed to be searching for. Yeah. So, I don't know. Okay. It's not me. I'm not the bad guy controlling them. So, if it was me, everything would have been solved a lot sooner. So they're just hanging out, just looking aggressive and stuff. And they go back to the group and they tell everybody like, oh man, there's this like whole army of Furies coming for us. And I was like, they're not coming for nobody. They're standing right there.
They're just growling in a field.
Yeah, it's like, and very clearly it's like open trees that they could see Freya, George and Richard
their
just
targets.
chilling. They're just hanging out there. And they're just like, whatevs. Like, they leave them there.
Okay.
Anyway, so they go back and the group of survivors are like, oh no, we're gonna die. And there's this one character who I think his name was Bryce, who's like the town guard kind of a guy that managed to survive. And he's all like, I'm the townsman. I say we do this kind of a thing. And they're like, shut up, dude.
Who put you in charge?
Exactly. Sir? I was like, dude, you have like a King's Knight here, right? Just shut up and listen to George, who's supposed to be the hot one, you know? Like,
okay. Is he not the hot one?
He just has kind of a big nose, but I'd say he's conventionally attractive. Okay. Like, so he's a little jacked, that's for sure. But anyway, so they are like, oh man, what do we do? What do we do here? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, we need to figure this out. Let's go back to the village that we were just at so we at least have some shelter so that we're not just standing out in the open to figure out what we're doing. So they all go back and they're chatting about it and trying to figure out what they want to do. And Bryce is like, oh, I'm going to come with you guys. I'm going to help you guys and become a knight kind of a thing. And they're like, listen, dude, you're the only one who like knows how to fight out of these group of survivors. We kind of need you to be with them to protect them kind of a thing because we have other shit we have to do. And George and Richard decide that the survivors need to go to the coast and to the east to the coast and find some of the ships, like the fleet of ships, like the king's ships, the war ships and stuff, and get them to sail to the Red Islands or something. What was it? I think it's like the Red Islands or some shit like that to go get help kind of thing, right? Because they need more people for an army for all this stuff, right?
Okay.
And they're like, we need you to go do this. This is super important. You have to go, okay? And they also give them, like, one of their, like, symbols that is, like, I'm a king's knight, right? So they're like, give this to them. Tell them who sent you. Tell them this is what they got to do, right?
Okay.
So they're like, okay. So they break apart, and they go off to do that thing. But they don't break apart just yet. They're like, okay, George, what are we supposed to do? What are we going to do to, like, do now what we need to do? Because we can't go through the Furies to get there. So they decide that they're going to go around the Furies through the Dark Kingdom. And everybody, dun, 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 Dark Kingdom. Yeah. So, yeah. And no, we can't go in there. No one has ever survived. And then at the Norse Castle, there's some guards gossiping about how people are talking about overthrowing the king. And the other guard is like, shut up, man. That's treason. And the other guard is like, yeah, but people are saying they're going to do it. And he's like, shut up, man. That is treason and stuff. Anyway, the king comes out. And he looks very distraught. He's very concerned about his wife, right? The queen is not well at all. And so he's just a little out of it. He's very concerned, and he almost doesn't hear the one guard trying to give him the report he was trying to tell him. And I guess in the first movie, what had happened is that they were at the North Castle doing their shit, and he'd heard that there was some shit going down at the main castle, so he sent his most trusted night guards, like a platoon of them, to go back to the main castle and protect Fabian and Elizabeth, right? Okay. And that's how George and Richard got along with all of them, right? Okay. And so their report had kind of come back, which I don't know how anyone got a report back to them, unless they were using crows or some shit, because, like, I don't know. Because there's no horseman that's getting through that army of Furies. No. I don't understand how reports are reported back unless it's through a bird. Okay. So
we'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Yep. And he's like, oh, we haven't heard anything back from the castle. We don't know how the princess or the prince are. And the king's like, what do you mean? And all of a sudden, Fabian walks in through the door. And this guy, I don't want to be rude. He's got a good face. His teeth are terrible, and when he talks, I want to punch him in the face. Okay. So, and the haircut they gave him, it was not flattering in any way. I was just like, are they trying to make him seem as absolutely sleazy as possible because they're succeeding? Yeah, they're doing a real good job of that. Yeah. Anyway, he's like, oh, father, I'm perfectly fine. Elizabeth is fine. And the king's like, Fabian, what are you doing here? And he's like, I've been so concerned about mother. I wanted to be near her and stuff, and that's what we're here for. And the father is just like, but where's Elizabeth? And he's like, Elizabeth's back at the castle. And he's like, I don't believe you. But, like, also doesn't say, I don't believe you. He's just, like, weirdly like, where's Elizabeth? Okay. And then the scene changes. And
Okay.
Elizabeth doesn't know anything about the Dark Kingdom, and so they're telling her all about the Magister who used his dark magic to create, or like he went to this part of the kingdom and used his dark magic to create abominations and demons and just dark creatures of all kinds, right? Yeah. And so she's like, oh my gosh, which I'm like, you, princess, should know about a neighboring kingdom that is called the Dark Kingdom.
I mean, maybe she was very sheltered.
I guess, but she's known as the Princess of Light. So, like...
light, dark, meh.
You should probably know who your bad guys are, you know, right? Like, fuck me, man. Anyway, so while they're walking along and talking about this, there's a hawk that flies overhead. And Freya and Demia look at each other. They look up at the hawk, and they look at each other, and they just kind of nod, right? And you're like, okay.
All right.
And the bird then flies off and lands on the outstretched arms of one of the Katori warriors. She's surrounded by like 15 others. Okay. And they're all like just silent. But the leader looks at the hawk, kind of nods her head, lets the hawk fly off, and grabs her weapons, and they all just run after her, right? Because I guess they found Demia and Freya, and so they're going after Demia and Freya.
Okay.
So that's what they're doing. And Elizabeth, they're kind of chilling for a minute. They're just resting and stuff. And Elizabeth asks the group to teach her how to fight. And they're like, are you sure? And she was like, well, what happens if I get separated from you guys? I'm going to fucking die, like, real fast. And so they're like, okay. So they have this fun little montage of, like, George being like, yeah, use the sword like this and like this. And the Katori women are like, watch your feet, do this, do that. And then they all take turns. Like, Demia's teaching her how to do, just self-defense, talking with taekwondo stuff. Freya's over here like, this is how you use a bow. George is like, this is how you swing a stick at someone. And like, he's got this big old stick, and she's got this little stick, and just like, because obviously she's not strong, but she picked up a sword one-handed, which I'm like, bro, no, okay.
Get your facts straight.
It did look thinner, but I was like, even rapiers are kind of like heavy, so like,
yeah,
that's like, for someone who's never held a sword before, she'd be holding that two-handed. Whatever, it's fine.
Also, we're partway through movie 2, and she's just now asking to learn how to fight.
Yeah. And so they have like a good, like, honestly, I enjoyed the montage of them and stuff, because Richard starts like, yelling and everything, you know, getting her hyped up, and she's like, and I was like, party. Like, this is a D&D party, you know?
Yeah.
So I was having a good time with that. I was like, these guys are fun. Yeah, and they're just, like, yelling, swinging sticks, shooting arrows and everything. And so she kind of, mostly, though, they were just teaching her how to, like, defend herself, not to, like, kill anything, but, like, this is how you would get away from things.
Stay safe,
yeah. And they just kept, like, teaching her, you know, dodge this, dodge that, do this, do that, and everything, which it comes up later. But anyway, she has a nightmare that night of being attacked by the Furies. Like, just immediately, she's walking around in her princess dress, and there's no one else around her, and then the Furies come up and attack her, and she's like, So she wakes up, realizes that George is awake, watching all of them, and so she goes over to sit next to him, and she's all kind of, like, sit next to his side, and they're just kind of, just staring at each other, just quietly, and they lean in to kiss, and Richard snores and starts talking about a siren, and
oh boy,
and stuff, and so they're like, right, okay, and
Richard ruining the moment again.
Right? So Elizabeth leans her head on his chest, and he lets her fall asleep on him, right?
Aww.
And I was like,
oh,
that was really cool. And then we see the dragons flying around, and there's like 40 fucking dragons just flying in the distance, just
that's
flying
way
around
more than Hobbit.
But
movies.
basically, it was like copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. They're all flying, just like flying in circles, just flying.
Okay.
Just flying.
And
then the one dragon with the egg flies in, and he goes into a cave, and there's another dragon with a nest of eggs, and he puts the egg down, and they just kind of stare at each other, and the scene is in.
Okay.
Like, that's it. That's all you see for that. Okay?
Okay.
Richard and George are chatting as they're all walking along, right? And George is telling Richard that he's like, yeah, do you remember that stable girl I told you about a while ago? Yeah, that's Elizabeth and stuff. And Richard is like, yeah, dude, I'm not stupid. like
everyone knows.
Like, everyone knows, yeah. And he was like, yeah, I also wasn't asleep last night, man. Like,
rude.
So, yeah, but also...
So you cock-blocked on purpose.
But George is like, but I know she's a princess, I'm a knight, we're not supposed to be together, kind of a thing. And I was like,
meh.
But why would Richard, if he's all like, I'm here for you, buddy, why would he have stopped?
Been a dick.
Like, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no fucking clue. So, like, they arrive at the spooky forest. Fabian, there's so much of just, like, little scenes that could have gone on longer had they just continued on.
Not go back and forth.
Yeah.
Just one scene, and then one scene, and then one. Yeah.
It was so stupid. Anyway.
It's the worst.
Fabian is hanging out with a baby dragon, and he's ordering a knight to bring Furies outside the castle gates, ready to kill his sister when she arrives, right?
Oh.
I was like, okay, fuck, man, we're going, instead of capture her, to just...
Going real hard.
But flat out kill her, yep.
Okay.
Anyway, Fabian also wants him to send knights, or send Furies that used to be knights, right? That know who George and Richard are, so that they can, like, I don't know, find them easier? I don't fucking know.
But they're not, they're
yeah, it's
dead.
stupid. And then we have, like, later, I didn't write it down, but there's, like, a couple scenes later where 2 knights are turned into Furies, and that's where we see the Magister, like, turning them into Furies, and it literally is, like, a 10-second scene of just them being turned into Furies, and then that's it. And then you see them a couple of times throughout the next, like, few scenes of other stuff going on, just running. Like, it literally shows them for, like, 2 seconds, just run. And then...
it goes to something else.
Yeah, so I didn't write that down for most of it, because I was like, what does it matter, you know? Anyway, so the group is still standing where they were when they got to the spooky forest, which is a line of trees, and there's, like, dark CGI magic coming out of it, like smoky stuff, okay. And they're just like, yes, the Dark Kingdom. And they're like, oh, yeah, the place that is neither night nor day. And I'm like, should have written night? And they were like, no, it's a constant twilight. And I'm like, okay.
That sounds great.
I know, right? I was like, it doesn't seem that bad. But they're like, yeah, it's just full of dark things and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, they're talking way too long about how they don't like the Dark Kingdom, but George is like, well, we have to go into it anyway. Freya starts also, like, moving some sticks into, like, a symbol on the ground, because I'm guessing she's leaving, like, symbols for the other Katori, like, warriors and stuff. But I'm like, okay, but how would you, like, I would not, I mean, I guess they're, like, following their tracks and stuff, too, but, like, through taller grass, like, it's just, I don't know.
That's where they were? Was
yeah.
Tall grass?
Tallish, like... Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, she leaves some sticks.
Okay.
So yeah. So they head into the Dark Kingdom, wandering. And then Freya notices some tracks, and they're like, oh, it's a demon, but it's headed the other way, so it's okay.
Okay.
A group of survivors make it to the coast, right? The people from before. Sans a few men.
Oh.
So they lost the innkeep who had lost his daughter earlier. So he was the one that kept talking like this and stuff.
With his head bowed.
And Bryce is also gone, the town guard. Okay?
Oh, well, he was a fun guy anyway.
Yes.
So.
They are telling the ship captain that they need to sell for the Red Islands. That's it. They put it there. And they're telling them, they're explaining them what's going on. Oh, these guards, we met these King's Knights. They told us what to do. They told us to give this to you, and they told us where we need to go, right? Mm-hmm. And what to do. And they're like, okay, let's do it. So they set sail, kind of a thing. They're like, all right, we set sail. Let's do that. Because I'm just going to talk about it right here.
Okay.
So the survivors are sailing along. Someone comes down and is like, you need to come out to talk to the captain again. And I was like, okay. So they go up to talk to the captain, and the captain is like, why are we setting sail? And they tell him the exact same fucking thing. They're like, oh, there's these Furies and stuff. They're attacking us. And the King's Guard...
Guard said so.
King's Guard said so and stuff. And they were like, okay, well, then we shall.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just stupid. But then we also get to see that Bryce is following the main group. So he follows them into the Dark Kingdom.
So he's not dead.
He's not dead.
Okay.
He's just following them.
Dang it.
The group is still wandering in the woods when they can feel something watching them from a distance. They take cover, and this weird... furry pig-faced like guy is like up above these rocks above them, just like making these squealy growly sounds, and they're all just like huddling behind the rocks, hoping that it doesn't like super peek down and see them. And then there's this louder growl, and it takes off. And they're all like, okay, well, that thing seemed absolutely fucking terrifying. So what in the world is louder than that it is running for time?
Yeah.
Like,
what is that afraid of?
Yeah, and so they were like, well, let's leave before we find out.
Yeah.
And so they all leave. The king and Fabian are talking, and the king seems rather cross. My favorite, though, is that he tells Fabian to come in, and they're in this big room. And they sit at a table that's maybe the size
of our
TV tray, maybe a little bigger. It's not very big at all. And I was like, this is a poor king? Who is this guy? Like, we don't have a lot of money. Anyway, but Fabian, he's like, oh, I think you're keeping things from me, Fabian. And Fabian is just like, no, of course not. Scene ends. The group is walking, like, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on with the king and Fabian? Like, I'm so confused as to that.
Okay.
Because the king clearly doesn't believe him, but he's never outright being like, Fabian, what are you doing? What is happening? Like, you need to tell me what's going on. Like, he's just like, Fabian, like.
Okay.
So the group are walking through the trees, and then they find this, like, passageway of, like, they have to squeeze through to get through these two big boulders, right? Okay. And they're kind of spanning a good long distance, so this is the only way to get through. And they hear what they think is a rock slide, and they're like, okay, let's get through this really quick so that we're not, like, caught up in whatever it is, you know? Yeah. And they get through two boulders when suddenly this giant rock monster, like, steps out after they get out, and he's like, you cross on my home, kind of a thing. Like, he says very basic English words, right? And they all pull out their weapons and are, like, ready to fight him, and they shoot an arrow at him, and it literally just bounces off because he made a rock. Yeah, because
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do, right? Yeah. So Elizabeth rushes forward, and they're like, Elizabeth, get back here. And she's like, no, we're so sorry. We didn't mean to tread on your home. We're just passing through. We mean you no harm. And the rock monster's like, okay. Like, because she's being all sweet and kind and holding up her hands and just being like, we didn't mean to harm, like, we mean you no harm. Yeah. And then she, like, holds out her hand for him, and so then he holds out his hand, and she takes his hand, and she's like, see, we're good people, kind of a thing. And he goes, kindness. And she's like, yeah, thank you. And he's like, you may leave, and, like, leaves that lets them go, right? Okay. So they're all, like, kind of hurrying along, but George goes up to, like, shake his hand as well, because George is kind of a nice guy. Yeah. And the rock monster fist bumps his hand and hits him so hard that George is like, oh, and breaks his entire hand. And I was just like, this is my favorite character in the whole fucking movie. It's this giant rock monster, which is very much a dude with, like, some pretty decent, like, special effects makeup on stilts. Like, it's just, he's very much, like, on a few inches of stilts. Nice. But he also kind of, like, they did a pretty good job with his voice as well, because it sounded like it was gravelly, like, rocks kind of rumbling together. They did a pretty good job. Anyway, the town guard happens across that hairy beast from earlier that was looking down at them from over the rocks and stuff, and realizes that it's dead. And he's like, what the heck? Well, it, like, screeches at him and then drops dead officially. Like, but it was, and he was like, okay, what killed this thing? Course it was the Katori. Anyway. Okay. Well, I'm assuming it was, because, like, they don't show what killed it, but you find the Katori later. So, like, okay. Yeah. Anyway, Fabian's walking down walking down the hall with that same guard from before and telling him that he wants to take over the castle, and he wants to do it in 2 days, and he wants the Furies to take it over, and he, like, just, I want this, and I want this, and I want my dragons enslaved, and blah, blah, blah. And the guard is like, yes, prince. Yes, prince. Yes, we shall do it. Like, and I'm like, okay.
This seems great.
So the group is still traveling. And they're, again, walking through some more kind of just like a cave-ish system, but it's bigger. It's not a cave. It's open,
like a cavern.
Yeah, like a cavern. No, but it's not super tall. It's maybe like 10 feet tall. Okay. So, like, you can still look up and there's, like, an opening at the top. Right. But they're just passing through rocks and stuff, right? But they keep seeing these weird, like, dark creatures kind of, like, rushing past all of a sudden. Like, just out of glimpse, barely glimpsing them kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And they're just being like, okay, guys, I really don't like this. We need to get out of here, kind of a thing. And George being like, oh, I've got 2 over here. Richard being like, I've got 3 over here, kind of. And just, they're all, you know, talking, communicating properly. Okay. And then they get jumped by these fucking dudes in pajamas. Like, it straight up seems like there's a zipper up the back of, like, they're just bad. The actors seem like they were having a good time, though, because you see them more out in the open later, and they're just like, think Power Rangers. Yeah. Like, that's the bad guy, the clay guys. Yeah, the clay guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I pictured.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, in putties, darker gray. Yeah,
the putties.
In darker gray, though. That's about it.
But what are they supposed to be?
Just dark creature things. Like, I don't know. That's just all they are. And so, yeah, just that, basically. And they've got little blades, and they're attacking and stuff, and they fight them off for a while. And they also, like, they run out. Freya, unfortunately, gets separated from the group and, like, grabbed into the back. And I guess she dies because we don't see her for the rest of the movie. Oh. I don't fucking know. I thought the Katori would show up and be like, our sister, haha, I'll save you. Like, but I guess she dies. Anyway, they leave her. They were like, okay, bye. Plus, they're still getting jumped by the other dark creatures, so, like, there's not much they could do. Okay. She got taken by, like, 7 of them, so, like, yeah. Sad. Yeah. And I was like, I liked Freya.
Was it just kind of, like, brushed over, or was it, like, dramatic?
It was a little dramatic. They, like, grabbed her and were, like, yanking her down this other passageway, and she was just like, no, and they were like, Freya! And they were like, we can't go back for her, we have to keep going, and, like... Sad. So, but then they, like, never talk about her again for the rest of the movie, and so, anyway, okay. Bye, Freya. Anyway, they're all getting attacked. Elizabeth manages to defend herself. She falls backwards and a creature like falls on top of her and she stabs it and she kills it that way. They all kind of get separated for a good couple of minutes, but they're fine. They get back together later. But they're all kicking asses at their own places and stuff. Richard randomly fighting a weird wolf-headed thing. Like, it's just out of nowhere, this guy with a wolf head is like, I'm going to attack you with these little dark creatures. And, like, anyway, he kills all of them. Demia's kicking fucking ass because she's a badass and stuff.
Nice.
And George has this, like, standoff with a bunch of the dark creatures, kills all of them. And then this giant demon with these huge goat horns and these huge goat legs come out. His face looks awesome. Okay, it's a really cool mask, right? A little, I mean, you can definitely tell it's a little cheaply made, but like it looks pretty good. He doesn't have eyeballs, but he's got this weird like nose-mouth combo thingy. It looks pretty interesting. He is wearing a fur suit. Like that's it. Like it's basically like cuts off at the wrist like and he's got his hands.
Krampus.
Yeah.
Krampus.
But like just people hands. Yeah. And he's on stilts on these like goat leggy thingies. And like you can very much see the like seam of where it goes around his neck up top. And I was just like, did we run out of what he was gonna wear, guys? Like is that
we couldn't follow through with
anything
that
else?
idea?
Yeah, like I just
Okay.
So George and him fight for a good minute, getting his ass kicked and stuff, and then Demia shows up out of nowhere. He's like 7 feet tall too, so like he is pretty big and stuff, right? So I don't entirely blame George for getting his ass kicked, but Demia shows up and she's got this like whip chain thingy that she like lashes around his neck, pulls him just pulls him back, and it gives George enough time to stab him through the heart. So
nice
teamwork, you know. That's combat advantage, actually. That's what that is.
Yes,
so
yes.
So the group gets back together, sans Freya, are jumped by the dark creatures again. Is like they literally were walking for like 2 seconds.
Okay.
They get jumped by the dark creatures, and this tall guy with an axe comes out, and he's like, all of you will be taken to Lord Reddick. And they were like, okay, I guess we're going with you to Lord Reddick.
Great.
And so they go with him to Lord Reddick, right? And the group goes along with it. The town's guard guy climbs up a tree just as the two Furies come rushing past him. The two, like, the Knights Guard that had been turned Furies come rushing past him and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's about that. The group is led by Chains to Lord Reddick. A dude, there's this big, like, demon with, like, these huge tusks coming out of his mouth. Takes all their weapons and weirdly gets all up in their faces to growl at them a lot. Like tusks brushing their cheeks, and they're all like, "Ooh, get out of here, dude." Like, yeah, gross, right? Anyway, that goes on for so fucking long. And it goes back to the town's guard guy, who keeps going along and is so fucking lucky he's not dead yet, because everyone else is, like, he's so lucky that everything has already been killed around him. Yeah. Right? Anyway, he finds all of the dead dark creatures that Richard and George and Demia had killed, right? Mm-hmm. And starts yelling, I'm Bryce, I'm awesome. I killed all these dark creatures. I'm Bryce the warrior, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden the Katori women are like, sup, dude? Yeah. What are you doing here? You know, like, and so they see him and they hear a growl and they go, it's not safe here. And so they take off running. And then Bryce follows after them because I'm sure he's like, shit. So he goes with them. And anyway, they just basically ignored him for a second. But then they run off to this, like, instead of where they were at was like walled-in, semi-safe-ish place. Mm-hmm. Run to a different location. Okay. Where it's, like, completely open, and their backs are totally to the woods now, right? Great. They run along, okay, and they all just kind of, like, the actors are very clearly waiting to get into their spots, kind of a feeling, you know? And then Bryce runs up to where he's supposed to be, okay? And he's got his spear and stuff, and then all the Katori women start, like, squaring up on him. And they're all squaring up on each other, and I was like, why are we squaring up, buddies? Yeah. Like, what's happening here, right? And so the leader of the Katori women is like, oh, did you slay all those beasts? And he's like, yeah, I did. And they were like, yeah, you totally slayed all those beasts.
Definitely.
Absolutely, you did. And, like, they go on for quite a while giving him some shit. And he's still like, no, that was me. I did it. I totally killed all those beasts and stuff, right? Okay. And they're like, how could you kill all those beasts without getting a single scratch on you? And he's like, I'm fast. And they're like, no, you're not. Like, it's just so stupid. It's the stupidest conversation. I'm going to record that whole scene for YouTube, just so you can see how stupid it is. And they're just, like, calling him out. Anyway, they're all like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm following after some knights and two Katori warriors and stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, Demia and Freya are working with the knights. And one of the Katori women out of nowhere just goes, Demia's betrayed us. Not Demia and Freya.
Yeah.
Demia's betrayed us. So now it's basically like they're aware that Freya's dead. Okay. And I was like, okay. But also, like, was there a rule that they couldn't work with the knights? Like, is there maybe it's from the first movie, but I was like...
Something they did before that?
Maybe? I don't know.
And they left, and then that's how things happened?
Yeah, I was like, this is...
Okay.
And they're just real aggressive about it. It's really stupid.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know. So the leader of the Katori says that Bryce, the guard, can come with them and find Demia. Because I guess they just figured out Freya's dead. Okay. So, like, whatevs.
Maybe they found her body.
Yep. But, like... I don't know. They very clearly show them come up, see that all the creatures are dead, see that Bryce is like, me, I'm the dragon, I'm the demon slayers and stuff. And then they took off. They did not seem like they looked at any, I don't even know. Okay. I have no idea. So the group is led to Reddick, a weird lizard man.
Okay.
This guy right there. Okay.
Oh.
He honestly did a fantastic job with his facial effects and stuff. And I watched a lot of Face Off, and they did a really good job with that, honestly. So nice. like his mouth felt like it was just moving, like he was just talking, like it wasn't like a weird mask stuck to his face.
Yeah.
It was like he was talking, and so
nice. It's
like that he was this man, right? And he's swarmed with these 3 hot women that are just like,
this is my king.
Snake guy. Yeah.
Okay.
George says that they're just traveling through and they want to leave. And Reddick's like, no one passes through this kingdom. And ha ha ha. And they're like, well, we just need to pass through. We won't bother you. We're just going to leave and stuff. And he's like, it's a crime to pass through our kingdom. And Elizabeth is like, we didn't know the laws. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter. You're too entertaining and I'm going to kill you.
Okay. He seems great.
Right. There's a lot of nonsense. The Katoris are randomly attacked by bugs. Doesn't matter. One of them dies.
Okay.
The 2 Furies are attacked by the dark pajama creatures, but they manage to get through them and they run right up to Reddick, right? Mm-hmm. And they're all like, oh, kill them and stuff. And Reddick's like, no, I want to hear what they have to say. And they open their mouths and their mouths start glowing this weird golden color. And you can hear the Magister's voice coming out of their mouths now, right? So it's some weird, I don't know.
Okay.
And he's talking about how he's like, oh, it is I, the Magister. I am your guys' dark creator, and I will be taking the princess and the knights back with me. And Reddick's basically like, no way, Magister, you abandoned us when you went to go be with the prince or whatever. Okay. You know, I'm now the lord of the Dark Kingdom and stuff because I'm here protecting all the creatures of the Dark Kingdom. And I was like, you're not doing shit, dude.
You're just sitting off in your castle.
You're doing a very good job, yeah. And the Magister is just like, I created all of you and I will send an army of Furies to destroy you. And Reddick's like, fuck you, man. Basically, like, they're just going off for a second. And then the Magister is like, okay, my son, come on. You're my son.
Oh,
like,
no.
just, like, I just... all I want is them dead. So you can kill them then. Just kill them yourself, kind of a thing. And so Reddick is like, okay, I'll kill them. But I'm going to kill them my way and stuff. And the Dark Lord, or the Magister's like, okay, cool.
Do it.
And stuff. Do it. Whatever. Just as long as they're dead. Yeah. That's all that matters, right? And so Reddick is like, aha, okay. We're going to take you to the fighting pits, basically. And so they take him to this, like, arena to battle in and stuff. And Reddick tells them that they can either die right now or fight for their lives, and if they win, they can leave. But Elizabeth is going to stay with me, and no matter what, she's going to become mine, kind of a thing. And George is like, fuck you, that's bullshit. And Reddick is like, kill them now. And Elizabeth is like, no, please, I don't want them to die. And, like, bows in front of Reddick and stuff. She's like, I'll be your concubine forever. Just, if they win, let them go, right? Like, just please let them go, right? And she tells George that he needs to win, he needs to find her father, and he needs to save their land, right? And George is like, Elizabeth, like, you know, just, okay. And so they agree to it, and they're like, all right, we're gonna fight. So Richard and Demia have to fight a couple of these, like, super gross demons. It's that Tusk guy from before, and some weird boil-faced demon that literally just sits and wails on Richard the entire time. Just keeps punching the shit out of him, right?
Okay.
Demia is fighting the Tusk monster, and it takes a good while. They also weren't given any weapons, but the bad guys were given weapons. Of course, right? Anyway, she manages, because she's fucking Demia.
Yeah.
She's a badass. Manages to get a knife from the belt of the Tusk demon, and she stabs him in the leg. And then he's got these 2 weird, like, clubs, but they're, like, made of metal, and they're just Anyway, so she gets one of those from him, runs over, kicks the boil face demon off of Richard, and then proceeds to bash his face in, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, does a good job with that. The Tusk demon lives, though. So, but she bested them. That's the point, is that they bested their warriors. And so Reddick was like, okay, fine, you two bested my warriors. Stay over there for a minute while we watch George fight now, right?
Okay.
And George, you're gonna fight. And he's fighting this other demon that we saw that was, like, hanging out with Reddick earlier, but he's this big, like... I want to say, like, a minotaur, but he's not as bulky as, like, what a minotaur would be, but he does have, like, the bull head with the horns and stuff.
Okay.
And he's using this weird, like, chain flail whip thingy, but, like, it's got a hook on the end.
Oh.
Right? And as this is going on, Reddick looks at Elizabeth, he, like, yanks her closer into his lap, and he's like, I've always wanted to meet the Princess of Light, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to make you my greatest concubine, my queen. And stuff, and she's all like, okay. And the other concubines are like,
bitch.
Okay. Like, they're just, like, super pissy about it, right? Anyway, George starts to fight the big bull-headed demon. And, like, at this point in the movie, we're, like, maybe, like, 10 minutes from the ending, and I was like,
what?
Where are we going with this? I was like, come on now. Like, let's keep going, you know? Like, let's get along with it. And I just was like, man, they're gonna, like, finish the rest of the movie real fucking fast, and then they don't. Anyway, though.
Okay.
So he's fighting for a good while. He's trying to dodge the chain back and forth, and Elizabeth begs Reddick to show a little bit of mercy, right? And he's like, okay. And he tells one of the dark creature thingies to throw, like, this little dagger in there. So it throws a dagger in, but he's still, like, he gets a good few punches in, gets tripped up, gets kicked a lot. He finds the dagger and he kind of tries slashing it at the demon, but the chain gets hooked. Like, he whips it around and it comes around his backside and hooks into his side, right? And he can't manage to pull away. And the dude from before with the axe that, like, caught them the first time and was like, take him to Lord Reddick, goes, that's gonna leave a mark in the morning. In the morning, it's gonna leave a mark right now, son. Like, what?
He's punctured.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about? Like, and I'm just like, okay.
All right.
Why just the morning? Anyway, so George can't break free, so he does the twirl in and wrap the chain around him to pull the demon closer, and then stabs the demon, and then cuts his throat, gets him down, and chops off his head. Like, just like...
Damn.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, fuck it, shit, man, all right. Yeah, so he cuts off his head, and he looks up at Reddick, and he's like, we have bested your champions. Now you be a man of your word and let us go, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And he goes like, let Elizabeth go. That wasn't part of the rules, but, like, whatever, right? Anyway, well, another demon steps in to, like, semi-fight with them for a second, but then Reddick jumps down into the battle, and then the other demon steps away. It's, like, really stupid. I don't know why they did that, other than to show off this other demon with kind of cool facial makeup. Like,
maybe that's why.
Maybe, I don't know. So Reddick pulls out his sword, and the other, like, dark creatures throw down some swords, too, because they want it to be a good fight, right? It's a good fight. So George got his sword. He and Reddick are fighting for a good while. And weirdly, while this is going on, one of the concubines comes over and is, like, pawing at Elizabeth and just keeps, like, grabbing her face and, like, turning to face her at the fight. But she's already looking at the fight, and the whole time she's just like, fucking stop.
Don't touch
Stop
me.
it. Get off of me. Like, it's so... That's and weird. She keeps, like, trying to then turn her face towards the fight, and she's like, I'm trying! Like I swear, I was like, what is happening over here? What is going on? Like, I have no fucking clue. Anyway, and the whole time this is also going on, Reddick just keeps yelling about how he's the Lord of the Dark Kingdom, and all of them, yeah! And then he slashes at George a couple of times, they clash blades and stuff, and then, I'm the Lord of the Dark Kingdom, yeah! And, like, it's just like, okay, dude, you got a complex?
You hype yourself up?
Yeah,
or, like,
whatever, right? Anyway, suddenly, one of the concubines, while this is all just going on, just nonsense, one of the concubines grabs Elizabeth by her hair and drags her back. And the one that was pawing all over her, so the other two are now holding on to her, right? And the one who was pawing at her comes up with her hand out like she's gonna fucking Kali Ma her heart out of her chest, right? Like, that's all I can think of, because she's just coming up like...
Okay.
With it, like, yeah, just like a clawed hand, but, like, there's no claw. She's just a person.
Yeah.
And all I could think was Kali Ma, Kali Ma. Like, it just, it's so stupid. Anyway, so Elizabeth manages to fight them off. George grabs his dragon tooth. from his pocket, stabs Reddick with it, and leaves this, like, magical, weird puncture mark in him and stuff, right? And Reddick falls to his knees. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I guess that hurts him really bad. And so George gets up and he's got his knife or his sword to Reddick, and Reddick is like, do your worst kind of a thing. But George is like, no, I'm going to spare your life and you're going to let us all leave, right?
Okay, because killing him wouldn't do that.
Right?
I mean, I guess you have to fight all the demons.
All the rest of them, yeah. But so he's like, and we're taking Elizabeth. And Reddick goes, okay, you can take Elizabeth. That's fine. You can all leave. That's cool. Like, I mean, in a little more, like, grumpy kind of a manner, but he's like, okay, take her and go. That's fine. You bested me, so yeah, I'm a lizard of my word kind of a thing. And so... And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Katori attack. And this whole battle breaks out. And they all start fighting each other again, right? Okay. And Reddick gets up and he starts, like, swashbuckling with George again. And all the Katori women are coming in and they're just battling and battling and battling and battling. And it's just, like,
where
really
were you
stupid.
10 minutes ago?
Exactly. Come on, guys. And then the Katori leader meets up with Demia, and just starts yelling about how she betrayed them for the knights. And Demia's like, no, Richard and George saved our lives. And the Katori need to fight along with us or against us. Kind of like, you're either with me or you're against me kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And the Katori leader is like, oh, I didn't realize they saved your lives. Okay, that's totally different. Yeah,
Never mind.
We're on your side now. So cool. We gang up now. So they're on the same side. Reddick's concubines are going after Elizabeth, yelling at her that she will never be queen. And for a second, I was like, well, I mean, she's princess, so she's gonna be queen someday. And then I thought, oh no, his queen? He literally just said, with you guys listening, she can go.
Yeah. The queen wasn't on the table
anymore.
So, like,
it's not anymore. Like, so it doesn't matter anymore, huns.
Okay.
But they just keep coming at her, and Elizabeth just keeps, like, dodging away from them and stuff. And I was like, fucking, if anything, I was more like, poor Elizabeth. Like, this is stupid. Like, this is the dumbest thing of all time. Everyone else over here is just like, ha-ha, for honor and glory and fight. And she's just like, what? Jealous bitches.
Yeah.
Like, okay. It's stupid. Anyway, she does kind of get, like, tackled down a couple of times because it's 3 against 1, so, like, you know. But all of a sudden, the big rock monster shows up out of nowhere, and he's all like, stop! And Elizabeth and runs up to his side and is like, hello, friend. And he's like, hello. Kind of, like, just, like, I'm here with you now.
I'm on your side.
I'm on your side and everything. And she takes the opportunity from all of them being like, what the fuck? Because he just shows up and yells at all of them. And it's not like he's stronger than any of them. He's about the same size as some of the other demons are and stuff. Okay. And, like, I guess he's a rock monster, so really how much are you hurting him if you're attacking him? But I mean, bludgeoning weapons, that's what that's for. But, like,
he's not some big boulder giant or something.
I mean, if honest anything, he's just kind of like a more lanky rock monster. Like, he's not this huge, massive rock monster. He's just like a dude
on stilts.
On stilts with kind of rocks on him and stuff. Like, it's just... You know? Like, and so, anyway, Elizabeth takes the opportunity to run up to his side, trying to convince Reddick that they're in this fight together against Fabian and the Magister, and that they're their enemies. And so George kind of looks at Reddick and goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And Reddick was like, Fabian, back at the castle.
Oh my gosh.
Is asking the same guard how his dragonlings are and how he wants them as his slaves. End of scene. The Magister...
Okay.
Like, it's so stupid. Okay. The Magister sees that Reddick, like, kind of lost to all of them and is considering joining with these guys. And he says that he will send his army of furies to destroy them all. And Reddick is like, fuck you, man. And he's like, at least Elizabeth is somewhat accepting of us dark creatures. Like, I'm going to join her side. So yeah, we're on her side. And then he yells at all the dark creatures, we are going to fight for our right to live here and to, like, rule ourselves, kind of a thing. And all the dark creatures are like, yeah! So that's what they all decide to do. Okay. So they're on her side, yeah. And, like, they go to war. That's what they want to do. Fabian again is at the castle, and he's talking to the king, who he locked in a room, and telling the king that he will take over the kingdom, right? And he's like, I'm going to have your kingdom, father. And I'm like, dude, your dad is fucking old. Like, wait 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, or smother him in his sleep. Nobody would suggest, like, this is, like...
Don't tell him your plot.
Yeah. Like, literally, all you had to do was wait a couple of years, or literally smother him in his sleep.
Yeah.
And you would have been king. I don't like, it's not like you're like, oh, I'm the Grand Master and I don't know, or like I'm his trusted assistant or something like.
Yeah.
No, you are next in line for the throne.
Yeah.
Elizabeth isn't taking over. You are.
Yeah.
So, like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Anyway, and he's all like, he claims that everyone will accept him as their king, and if they don't, he will destroy him with his army. And the king kind of laughs at him, and he's like, it's not his army, it's the Magister's army, right? It's someone else's army, obviously. Right. Suddenly, a dragon swoops down from above, blasting fire at the castle. The end.
What?
Yep. The end. Credits roll.
Okay. They better have made a third one.
But they haven't yet. I've looked it up. There's no third one, and I'm worried that COVID destroyed it all, or they just realized that they don't have no money.
What was the first one called?
The Knights of the Damned. Okay, that's it. Yeah, it's called Knights of the Damned. And that synopsis literally is just, the king has sent his best knights to defeat the dragon besieging his castle. Along with their epic adventure, they encounter malicious sirens, warrior women, and a mission of revenge and unstoppable army of the undead. Can they survive? Okay. And so that's the first movie. So now they have the second movie, and there's nothing saying anything about a third movie. So
unless you have something immediately lined up, why would you do that?
I don't know.
That's
I have no
terrible.
Idea. Right? I'm so confused. But my favorite too is that all of these people have been in things too. Richard has been in he was in Game of Thrones and a couple of video games and stuff. A couple of others smaller movies and stuff. But he was in things.
Mm-hmm. How was the acting?
Decent. Yeah. It was decent. Better than I thought it would be, honestly. Okay. So at least the main cast was pretty decent. The side characters were kind of trash. They were whatever.
It sounded like an episode of Power Rangers,
yeah.
Really.
But yeah, I was I just felt like this was kind of a fever dream of just a fun D&D party and stuff. But
not great.
Well, not great. Yeah. So I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Okay.
And I was just over here okay, when did the dragons do anything, in a movie called Dragon Kingdom?
Yeah.
When did they do anything?
I don't understand why there are different names for the same things.
I have no idea.
Why change it?
I have no idea.
It makes no sense. It's just confusing.
It's so confusing. They're oh, well, in England it's released as this. And I'm
why?
Why?
Why wasn't it the Philosopher's Stone?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't...
Okay.
No, I'm so confused. Yeah. I had a little bit of fun watching the movie, mostly because I was enjoying the characters more than anything.
Okay.
I was pretty impressed by some of the prosthetics and special effects makeup.
Nice.
The CGI was terrible. There was a lot of fake blood splattering around, but it's CGI blood, so it's not it's not great, it's not terrible, but it's not meh. But that dragon was terrible. But the makeup for the zombies, how do you mess up makeup for zombies?
For real.
I don't understand how you mess that up. You really shouldn't mess that up.
Can you describe it?
It was okay, so my favorite though is every time they had anything to do with prosthetics on their head, they didn't do anything to their hands. It was literally just white guys running around with hands.
Okay.
So it's just whatever. But the zombies were just guys in burlap.
No, not the burlap.
It's just a burlap sack over them to kind of be I'm part of the army kind of a thing.
Okay.
I don't know. And it was just white makeup with a little bit of red dashes here or there to show that they've been cut or that they're dead. But their hands weren't. There wasn't blood anywhere else on them. No. So it was just
that's it?
Yeah.
Oh no.
A little bit of blue around the lips kind of thing.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'll get a picture for you.
Mm-hmm. That sounds terrible.
It was bad. And they're hardly in the movie. And I was just I was expecting an army of the undead to be chasing them.
Yeah.
And instead we got kind of cool demons. But okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't fucking know, man. I don't fucking know.
Okay. So do you have scores?
Bad.
You can't do that every time.
I know. The plot was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Because honestly, maybe I should have watched the first movie and I would have enjoyed it more. But I was it just ended where I need more to happen, and I don't know if they're gonna have more, and so I don't know.
It feels like a weird place to drop off a movie, regardless.
For anything, yeah.
Usually, at least you sum up a few things, but there's but
had
this
been
thing
a
needs to
TV
happen.
movie where I knew that next week the next part was coming out, I'd be oh, that's a great place to end it. Where's the dragon?
It makes me think of the sci-fi, Alice, and the Tin Man and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, things like that. And so I was okay, that's a little weird, but all right, okay, and I don't fucking know. And then that's when I went down my rabbit hole being oh shit, this is a sequel. And it was too late to do anything else. And I was like,
sorry.
Okay, and stuff. And I was like, all right, whatever. Let's see, what else is there? The filming was pretty okay. Like, it definitely seemed slightly, like, a little lower budget, but, like, they definitely had an actual camera. It wasn't, like, a chibi camera. Like, it was a camera.
Yeah.
They clearly had some budget because the prosthetic makeup was pretty good. So, yeah, Reddick was really good. The other demons were pretty good looking, except for that weird fursuit that one time. Even the Minotaur kind of guy didn't look fantastic. His head looked great. Yeah. But, like, the rest of his body was just kind of...
They're like, just don't focus on that.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah. It's fine. But, yeah.
Okay.
What else is there?
Acting, you talked about.
Acting was pretty okay. Yeah. Acting was pretty okay. Because a lot of them have been in other things. And so it's like, okay, like, sure. Decent. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, then overall. Just 3 point whatever.
Yeah, I give it, it's 3.3 because it doesn't, like, have an ending. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. So, I feel incomplete.
I know. Like, I need to know more. I'm like, okay, I need to, like, I want the rest of it.
Give me the end.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Fun.
Yeah. So, stay tuned for maybe part 1. I don't fucking know. Like, just...
the prequel to the sequel.
I don't fucking know, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It is. Okay.
So.
We love you.
Yeah. Well, have a good time.
Have a great time.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. Let us know what you think by leaving a comment or sending us an email at bmoviebashpodcast@gmail.com.
You can listen to our episodes on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Apple, Amazon Music, and Audible, or you can find the video versions on our YouTube channel.
If you want to support the podcast, you can find our Ko-fi link on our Anchor page. Make sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends.